The keys felt cold in my palm, heavier than I expected. I stood in the middle of the living room, my heels clicking softly on the polished hardwood floor, the sound echoing off the high ceilings. This was his house. My cousin's. The man who once smiled as he signed away my future like it was nothing. And now it belonged to me. Through the floor-to-ceiling windows, the late afternoon sun spilled golden light across the room. It should have felt warm, comforting. Instead, it felt sharp, almost mocking, like it was daring me to feel guilty. I didn't. Not really. Still, my throat tightened as I ran my hand over the sleek marble counter in the kitchen. A kitchen that wasn't mine when I was hungry, a house I wasn't welcome in when I had nowhere else to go. My phone buzzed in my silk blouse pocket. A text from my lawyer. Everything is officially transferred. Congratulations, Claire.
Claire.
That was me, the woman who'd learned to smile through pain, to work in silence, to never beg again. I set the keys on the counter and exhaled slowly. This wasn't just a house. It was proof. Proof that I had survived. Proof that I had won. And as the front door creaked open behind me, I knew I was about to face the very man who once took everything from me. I was 22 the day my cousin Ryan took my land. It wasn't much, just 5 acres on the edge of our small town in Kentucky, passed down to me after my father died. My father had worked that land every weekend, building fences with his bare hands, planting pecan trees he swore would outlive him. This is your start, Claire, he used to tell me. Whatever happens in life, this will always be yours. But standing there that day, in the dusty county clerk's office, I felt like a fool. Ryan's name was on every paper, every signature line. The land I'd been promised had been signed away, not stolen in the dead of night, but taken legally, cleanly, and with my own uncle standing behind him, nodding. You're too young to manage it, my uncle had said, avoiding my eyes. Ryan can put it to better use. You'll thank us one day. Thank them? I could barely breathe. My hands shook as I clutched the faded deed my father left me, a piece of paper that now meant nothing. The clerk's voice sounded distant, tinny, as she told me where to sign to finalize the transfer.
I didn't sign.
I walked out instead, my heart pounding, my face burning with humiliation. Behind the building, I sat on the concrete steps and stared at the dirt under my nails. I wanted to scream, to throw something, but all I could do was cry, angry, hot tears that soaked my father's old flannel shirt I'd been wearing that day. That's when I felt the weight of the bracelet on my wrist, the one my grandmother had given me at Dad's funeral. A thin silver chain with a single charm shaped like a key. She'd pressed it into my hand and whispered, "Doors close, Claire, but you will find the ones you're meant to open." That memory steadied me. I wiped my face, stood up, and swore to myself I would never again sit and watch someone else decide my fate. If they thought I was too young, too naive, fine. I would show them what a too young, too naive girl could do when she had nothing left to lose. That was the day I packed my car and left town. I didn't know where I was going, but I knew one thing. I would build a life so strong they would never be able to take it from me again. The first few months away from home were brutal. I slept in my car some nights, the back seat piled with my duffel bag and a single suitcase. I took a job waiting tables at a roadside diner just to buy gas and cheap instant noodles. My hands smelled like coffee and bleach for weeks. My feet blistered from standing double shifts. But I was free. Every night, I would unclasp the silver bracelet and set it on the dashboard before I fell asleep. It reminded me why I had left, why I had to keep going. Things began to shift when I met Lydia. She was a regular at the diner, elegant, mid-50s, always in a tailored blazer and with a quiet confidence that made people pay attention when she spoke. One night, after watching me scribble business ideas in my notebook during my break, she asked, "What are you always writing in there?" I hesitated but showed her pages of plans, sketches, dreams about starting a landscaping and property management company. Instead of laughing, Lydia smiled. "You've got vision, Claire. You just need direction." She became my mentor. She taught me how to write a business plan, how to pitch to clients, and even introduced me to a small bank willing to take a chance on a young woman with no collateral except grit. It wasn't glamorous. I started by mowing lawns, hauling mulch, and clearing brush with a second-hand truck I bought on credit. Some days I'd come home so exhausted I'd collapse on the floor, too tired to cook dinner. But little by little it worked. My first big client was a retired teacher who wanted her overgrown yard restored. When she hugged me after seeing the transformation, I cried the whole drive home. Not because of the money, but because someone believed in my work. Word spread. One job turned into 5, 5 turned into 20. Within 2 years, I had a team of 4 and a growing list of commercial contracts. By the 4th year, I wasn't just surviving, I was thriving. Still, I kept my success quiet. When relatives called, I told them I was doing fine, nothing more. I didn't post about my growing business online, didn't share pictures of my first company truck with my logo on it, didn't tell anyone when I bought my first small house outright. Because this wasn't about bragging. This was about building something no one could ever take from me again. By year 6, I was running a 7-figure company, expanding into real estate investment, buying properties others had foreclosed on or abandoned, properties like my cousin's house. And the day the opportunity came to buy it at auction, I didn't hesitate. I signed the papers with a steady hand and the faintest smile. I wasn't that powerless girl anymore. The front door creaked open, and I turned slowly, heels clicking on the polished floor. Ryan stood there. Same broad shoulders, same confident smirk that used to make me feel small, but it faltered when he saw me. "What are you doing here?" he asked, his voice carrying that same entitled edge I remembered. I let the silence hang in the air for a beat, savoring it. "I own this house now," I said simply. For a moment he laughed, like he thought it was a joke. But when he didn't see me laugh with him, the color drained from his face. "No," he said, stepping further inside. "That's not possible. This is my house." I picked up the keys from the marble counter and held them up. The silver key charm on my bracelet glinted in the afternoon sun. "Not anymore." He blinked, glancing around as though the walls might confirm his reality. The living room looked immaculate, sunlight pooling on the glossy wood floors, fresh flowers on the coffee table, art I'd chosen myself on the walls. My art, my taste, my mark on everything. "You bought this." His voice was lower now, almost cautious. "Yes," I said. "At auction. Foreclosure notice said you hadn't paid in months." His jaw tightened. "Things got complicated," he muttered. I nodded slowly, leaning against the counter. "I know. I've been watching this house for a while." That made him flinch, the idea that I had been close, quietly waiting, while he was losing everything. He walked into the kitchen, his eyes darting to the stainless steel appliances, the fresh coat of paint, the expensive-looking pendant lights above the island. "You fixed it up?" "I made it mine," I said softly. Behind him, the sound of another car pulling up made us both turn. My uncle, his father, stepped inside. When he saw me, he froze. "Claire?" His voice was almost a whisper. I straightened my shoulders. "Hi, Uncle Jack." He looked from me to Ryan, then around the house. "What's going on?" Ryan's voice was tight. "She owns it now." Uncle Jack's mouth opened and closed. Finally, he said, "You can't be serious." I didn't raise my voice. I didn't need to. "I'm very serious. Everything's legal. This house, this land, it's mine now. Just like you made sure my land wasn't mine all those years ago." The room went silent. The weight of what I'd said hung between us. I could see it in Uncle Jack's eyes. The memory of that day at the clerk's office, the way I had walked away crying while he signed the papers that gave Ryan my inheritance. "I didn't think you'd," he started, "make something of myself?" I interrupted gently. "Neither of you did. But I did, Uncle Jack. I built a company from scratch. I own 7 properties now. This house is just one of them." Ryan swallowed hard, staring at the floor. I let them take it in. The silence was thick, but it wasn't uncomfortable, not for me. I wanted them to sit with the reality that the girl they underestimated had turned into the woman standing before them. Finally, I said, "I didn't buy this house to hurt you." I bought it because I could. Because I wanted to prove to myself that I could take back what was taken from me. Ryan's shoulders slumped. Uncle Jack looked like he'd aged 10 years in 10 minutes. And for the first time in years, I felt taller than both of them. I let the silence stretch a moment longer before I spoke again. You have a choice, Ryan, I said, my tone calm but unyielding. You can stay here for now, or you can leave. But if you stay, things will be different. He glanced up, wary. Different how? I walked around the kitchen island, closing the space between us. For starters, you'll pay rent. Not because I need the money, but because I want you to understand the value of what you almost lost. And you'll pay it on time, every month. No excuses. Ryan's mouth opened, then closed again. I saw the pride in his jaw, the way it clenched. Uncle Jack cleared his throat. Claire, surely. I held up a hand.
No.
This isn't about revenge. It's about respect. You took something from me when I was too young to fight back. You taught me what it feels like to be powerless. I swore I'd never feel that way again. And now, I have the power to choose what happens next. Ryan shifted on his feet. And if I can't pay? I met his eyes, steadily. Then you move out. I'll sell this house or rent it to someone who can appreciate it. I turned to Uncle Jack. And you don't get to lecture me about what's best for me ever again. If you want a relationship with me, it's on my terms. No more backroom deals. No more deciding my future for me. You speak to me directly and honestly, or not at all. The words came out steady, even gentle. I wasn't yelling. I wasn't angry anymore. I was simply done. Ryan rubbed the back of his neck, avoiding my gaze. I guess I deserve that, he muttered. You do, I said, but my voice softened. This doesn't have to be the end of us, Ryan. I'm willing to help you get back on your feet, if you're willing to take responsibility.
Find a job.
Show me you care about turning things around. But I won't carry you. I carried myself for years. You can carry yourself too. He looked up at me then, and for the first time, I saw something other than arrogance in his eyes. I saw defeat, and maybe the faintest flicker of humility. This house isn't just walls and windows, I said, glancing around. It's a symbol. For me, it's proof that I can survive anything. For you, maybe it can be the place you start over if you choose to. Neither of them spoke for a long time, but I could see the shift happening. The way their shoulders slumped, the fight draining out of them. I had the upper hand now, and they knew it. But strangely, it didn't feel like victory. It felt like peace. Weeks passed, and to my surprise, Ryan stayed. At first, he was distant, barely speaking to me except to hand me the rent check, always on time. But gradually I noticed small changes. The lawn was trimmed, the gutters cleaned, the porch repaired. One evening, I came by to check the property and found him repainting the front door, sweat on his brow, determination in his face. Figured it was time I took care of the place, he said, almost shyly. I nodded, a quiet warmth settling in my chest. Maybe this house really could be a second chance for both of us. Uncle Jack came by one Sunday, holding a pie from the bakery in town. He stood awkwardly in the kitchen before saying, I was wrong, Claire. About everything. Your father would be proud of you. I didn't realize how much I needed to hear that until my throat tightened and I blinked back tears. That night, after they'd both gone, I sat alone in the living room. The house was quiet, bathed in the soft glow of the table lamp. I turned the silver bracelet on my wrist, the key charm glinting in the light. Doors close, my grandmother had said. But you will find the ones you're meant to open. I smiled, letting the weight of her words sink in. I thought of the scared girl sitting outside the clerk's office years ago, crying into her father's flannel shirt. And then I thought of the woman I had become, strong, steady, holding the keys to a future no one else could take from her. I stood and walked to the window, looking out over the yard. Ryan's tools were stacked neatly by the porch. The house looked alive again. He once took my land, I said aloud, my voice calm, sure. Now I hold the key to his house, and to my own peace. And for the first time in years, I truly believed it.